Okay, it's time for another reference photo scouting outing.
Okay, I'm ready.
Oh, I'm going to call it a scouting outing.
I think that's a good idea.
And it's kind of chilly today here in Ocala, Florida.
Yep, big wind.
And you might notice there's traffic behind us.
Yep.
So the answer is no. We're not going to be sketching or we're not going to use traffic as a reference photo.
You could.
But I pass this place all the time, and I think it looks beautiful. So I'm going to turn the camera around and show you what I'm talking about. And it is not that place. It is not the cardiology medical clinic. But across the street, you see there's CVI, that's the Cardiovascular Institute. Where'd you go? The Cardiovascular Institute, which is one of the doctors I go to.
Yep.
And over there is a new building. I don't know if it's a storage facility or what it is.
It's storage.
Is that what it is?
It's storage. But that's a nice subject too. You've got the trees and you've got the orange doors.
That's right.
The two-story building and
Yeah, you could use it.
trucks. You could use it.
You could use that for that. But that's not what I had in mind either. I had in mind this over here. This piece of land right here, to me, looks like it could make some good reference photos. So I hope they don't mind that we're going to walk on their property and we get some reference photos. There's even a pond back there. Not a pond, what do you call it? A retention area.
Oh, okay.
So, and I like the palm tree right here, so I'm just going to walk around, and if you see anything that you want to use as a reference photo, feel free to use it. I'm talking not only to you on watching the video, but you, Robin.
Yep.
Anybody who wants to use it. I have no idea what I'll use, if any of it. But what I like is sometimes to imagine something that's not there, like a body of water. Look at those palm trees right there.
Yeah, they've got attitude. They do. They have personality. Don't mess with me.
They're leaning over.
Yeah.
And I can't see my screen real well because it's so bright today. It's chilly but bright.
It's a sunshine state.
The sunshine
Wow.
state, yes. I'm in a sunshine state of mind. So yesterday's scouting outing, ooh, that's my new thing, was very long. It was like a half hour.
Yeah.
So I'll try to keep this one not so long. But I like this right here. In Disney World, they call this a burn. A piece of land that's been built up intentionally to obscure something else. So I don't... Yeah, looks like a little retention area.
Yeah.
But in painting it, you could make a retention area.
Sure.
Now let's look at it from this angle. Just because I passed it doesn't mean it's used. That's a pretty nice looking palm tree. So the people in the doctor's office are probably wondering who we are.
Yeah, they're probably not paying any attention. They're probably having their office party today.
Oh, that could be.
Next week is Christmas week.
That could be, yeah.
Get those anthills. And then that
Oh, yeah.
the foliage there.
That's an art.
Interesting thing.
That's an art subject right there.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing.
Yeah. So here's the other side of it. Look at that tree. Look at that tree right there.
That's a challenge for me.
That would be a good subject, yeah. So let's see if any of these look like reference photos that you might want to paint. I'll pan slowly across the landscape here. I'll probably use some of these myself tomorrow. I kind of like this idea of going out and getting our own landscape photos
Yeah, it is nice.
for reference photos. And I like this here, this clump of bushes, because it's more in the foreground than that stuff in the background. Right there, that looks nice.
You got Spanish moss on the trees.
Spanish moss. Yes, slowly but surely I'm getting better at that.
It's hard. I can't do
It is hard. Let's walk a little bit more, get a little bit different angle here. Yesterday I went to Shalom Park, and a lot of the people who commented underneath the photograph said, I love Shalom Park. So I think what they're trying to do is just teach me how to spell Shalom. Because they're all telling me what it's called.
Well, we know the person that built it.
Right.
And we know why he spelled it the way he spelled it. So there you go.
Well, this is nice right here. This might make a nice reference photo. Let's see what it looks like if I turn around and look at the... Well, see, I wouldn't do that because it's kind of like a commercial art piece right there. But this right here, now that's a different story. That looks nice. See those big long shadows coming across the field? Yes. Yes. All right, I think we have what we need for our reference photos for day 8 of the art journal. Hard to believe I've done it a week already. Right?
Nice.
Let's get one more angle here. Right there, that looks nice. All right, we got more Christmas shopping to do. Let me turn this around and let's say goodbye. All right. So now it's time to go Christmas shopping. I thought I was done, but we're not quite done yet.
No, I got something else I got to get. And then we got to get all the groceries for Christmas dinner.
My job is to eat it.
Yeah.
All right, let's turn this off and get ready to paint on the next scene. Okay, well that was kind of fun. So I chose this reference photo right here. And let's talk about the reference photo before we get into the painting of it. I like the idea that it's got a lot of contrast, a lot of dark and light. I also like the idea that the tree that is almost absent of leaves because it's winter. I like the fact that it's light or white in front of the dark background, and when it reaches the sky, it's dark. So you have dark lines for the limbs in the sky portion of the painting, and white lines on the portion of the tree that is up against the dark background. And the same thing is true for the tree in the middle. It's got some dark at the bottom and light again up against the dark background. And see, all of these little bushes here do the same thing. They all have a lot of white limbs or light colored limbs. Probably, I don't know what I'll use, maybe a light, very light brown, almost a white. And then also, it's not easy to see really, but I took note of it when I was there that a lot of the leaves on the ground underneath that big old tree there, they've got an orange color to them, a golden color. So maybe I'll try to work that in there. All right, let's get to the painting now. And thank you for watching. So let's start the way I always start, in the sky. I'm just reactivating gouache from a couple days. I love the fact that you can use gouache like watercolor and just use it. I did order, by the way, another sketchbook journal. I'm not showing it yet because I also bought one for Robin. So, and that sketchbook journal has watercolor paper in it. So if you're looking for a sketchbook journal to do this, and you really don't want to paint on flat paper, which I really didn't realize when I got this that I was doing that. But I thought it was watercolor paper. I don't know why I thought that, but I did, and I was wrong. So that's the only thing. And so with the painting here, I'm going to create this very light blue sky. I'm going to exaggerate a little bit the way it dips down here. I think the actual photograph is not that way, but I'm going to just do that just to give it a little more interest right there. All right, well that was easy, wasn't it? Now the ground is mostly like a yellow ochre, and since I have blue on the brush, it'll make it a little bit green, and look at that. So I'm using yellow and yellow ochre mixed together with the blue that's already on the brush, just to create these little rolling hills that are in the photograph. Let me turn my phone off, the sound of the phone, so you don't get bothered by it. But anyway, let's see how this works out. I'm looking forward to seeing how the light on the dark, that whole idea works out. All right, let's get some yellow and some yellow ochre. Let's see what we can get back here. A little bit different. There's a little bit of a trail back there. I think I want to keep that trail right there. It's probably the parking lot of the medical center. I don't know, for real. But you know, I've passed this place so many times. Actually, the medical place across the street is the medical place I go to for my cardiologist. And so I have often gone to my car in the parking lot across the street and looked over here and said, whoa, that is a pretty landscape over there. And I've often thought I should go over there and do a plein air painting. But you know, to set up an easel and on somebody's property, it's not somebody's like residential property, it's like a business property. I know you could tell that. But it just felt funny, and plus, I don't know, I need to be out. I need to be doing more plein air, but I'm easing into it, as you know. So there's a little bit of yellow here. I'm not really sure exactly how I'm going to approach everything in this picture, but I know that area has to be dark. This area has to be dark. So what I want to do is take some of this, I might use dark blue and some Payne's gray, just to brush in some of this dark area here. Yeah, that looks good. It's not as dark as I probably want it to be, but I'm going to start with that and then kind of bring it down here to give that look of that hill there. There's a little tiny hill, and maybe it'll look more like a hill once I get it all in there. Yeah, so I'm going to be doing light on dark and dark on light, and we'll see how it all works out. Okay. So a little bit of shadow here, a little bit of shadow here. And of course there'll be a shadow under that tree once I get that tree in there. And we want this area over here. We're going to come up here. Some of these dark areas that we're going to paint over. A little bit more. Maybe a little bit more yellow ochre in there. Let's get some yellow ochre color. So what is important if you're new to this whole idea, it's not that I'm keeping a journal so that in the future I have a record of, oh, what did I do that day? It's not a journal in that sense. It's a journal in the sense of getting little pictures, little sketches with painted sketches. You could use pencil too, or you could use anything. And then from there, instead of using a reference photo for a larger painting, you use a sketch that you did. It does a couple of things. It gives you practice on that one painting, so you've done that subject already, and even if it's months or years later, you'll be able to see what you did, and I think that's pretty cool. So it's a journal in that sense. Now it perhaps also does speak to the what did I do on this date, on this year? What did I do? Where did I go? That kind of thing. Now, for the non-artist, the person who is just interested in the journal itself, I do think that it's fun for them to see settings that they might be familiar with. So, for example, when I did the painting from what was that place called? Lake Griffin, or whatever it was called the other day. The place where Robin and I saw the bear. A lot of people just like the painting because it's, and even though it's just a sketch in an art journal, they like the painting because, well, they're familiar with that park and they like seeing a painting from the park. In fact, they recognized the boat ramp, which is where I painted from. The reference photo was from the boat ramp. So, all right, a little more, just roughing it in here. And if anything is too dark, the beautiful thing about gouache is you can paint over it with light. And if anything is too light, of course, you can paint over it with dark. But you've always been able to do that. All right, let me get some more. Make some more Payne's gray in here. There we go. Just exaggerating a little bit, maybe. It is the contrast that makes the painting. And over here, we're going to have that nice contrast between that light-colored tree. Just get a little bit more green in there. Yeah, Florida is an interesting place. I guess the further south you go, because I'm in north central Florida. So it does have somewhat of a season change here, not like it does up north, but it does have a season change, but not, I think down in like the Miami area, it's even less. I'm not that familiar with the Miami area, although I want to go down there. I want to go down there and do some paintings. Robin and I have been looking at this Bright Line train, thinking about that might be a fun trip. Take the train down to South Florida. Alright, so right now all I'm doing is blocking everything in. Keep that little opening right there. That might be not sure what that is. Might be a road. It's funny when you look back at a photograph, you say, what was that? I don't remember seeing that. But a little tiny area right there. It kind of goes back. And then this area, that long dark shadow from that clump of trees. There we go. Little tiny things here. So now you can see the very, very rough landscape there from what we saw yesterday. Put more green back here. See, a lot of stuff is going to be poking through. Just get some more yellow on there. Everything is toned down, by the way. Nothing is like bright colors. So in the summertime, when I go to the doctor across the street and I look over this way, I can see it's a beautiful little piece of property, and I always wanted to go there, and so I chose to go there in December, of course, when it's not as green as it usually looks, but it really does look beautiful. when I'm over there looking in this direction. And so that's why I wanted to stop here. I think Robin was surprised when I pulled into this parking lot because she knew I was looking for a reference photo. And I hadn't, because usually I go to that doctor by myself. And I don't know that I've ever pointed out my desire to paint this area. But there it is. That's the rough beginning of it, okay? Well, that's a good place to start. What I think I need to do is get some fresh paint. Let me get some fresh paint, get it straight out of the tube. So here's my Payne's Gray. This is going to come in real handy. So you can see my palette is completely a mess. I have to find a place for this stuff. I keep it a mess, but alright, there's my Payne's Gray. I want to make sure I put some white on there also. Is this white? Yeah, this is white. Okay. Put some white on there. I don't need much. It's all a sketch anyway. And then the yellow ochre is all over this painting, so I think I'll use yellow ochre. And then I'll use yellow, of course. Like, I don't know if it's called lemon yellow. Yeah, that's what it's called, lemon yellow. Lemon yellow, very pretty. But the lemon flower is sweet. But the fruit of the lemon is impossible to eat. What was that song? Oh, Lemon Tree. Lemon tree, very pretty. And the lemon flower is sweet. But the fruit of the lemon is impossible to eat. Alright, there's the burnt umber. I don't know that I'm going to use that a whole lot, but I'm going to give myself a little bit of straight out of the tube. And what else do I have? What else did I pick out of there? Black. I'm going to put it on here. I don't know that I'll use it, but I just got to remember that that's the black. Whoops. There's the black. I might not use it. We'll see. What is this one? Red Sienna. That might help a lot. Let's try that one. Just getting colors out of the tube. And the other one I picked out is this vermilion, which is kind of, in my mind, it's an orange, and there's really nothing in this painting that's orange. But I might use it to exaggerate some of those leaves at the foot of the tree without the leaves. The bear tree. Not the pear tree. The bear tree. The house I grew up in New York had 2 pear trees in the backyard. Do you know, I actually have tried to paint those 2 pear trees that used to be in the backyard of the house I grew up in. And I did it from memory because I'm not there anymore. Those trees probably aren't even there anymore. But, alright, let me get this really dark here. The bottom of these distant trees have a lot of depth, so I'm using the Payne's Gray out of the tube, straight out of the tube. Getting a little bit wet. It's kind of like watercolor right now. But just gonna put this in a lot of places over here. And this is paper. This is not watercolor papers, so it is absorbing it a little bit. I might be worried about that. I don't want it to rip the paper, and I don't want it to go through the paper either. So it's all a learning thing. I never know how it's going to come out anyway. I'm always just kind of working it. And then there's this area down here that goes up like this and gives another area of darkness. and kind of blend it in to what's already there. It's kind of fun doing it. It's kind of fun doing a journal because it kind of builds on itself. It was like when I did all those cards, like as a collection of cards, it was kind of fun to do a collection, and now doing a journal, it's all in one book. And I don't know what I'll do with the book after it's done, but hey, you know what? It's fun. And, I often think also that it's a way to kind of showcase your art. If you have a book somewhere, like you're at an art show or something, and you can let people flip through your art journal. It's a thought. It's probably not ever going to happen for me, but maybe you could do that. Alright, just a little bit of darkness over here. Now that is really wet on wet. I didn't want that, but look, see, it's acting just like watercolor. That's okay. So that's just going to be the background for that light colored bush right there. Over here. So it's got a little bit of a hill right there. It goes down and then goes up. Kind of have to work it to make it look the way you want it to look. I almost chose the scene with Robin in it. And the reason I didn't is because it's like if I was purposefully trying to put a person into a picture, I would want the person to be more contrasted with the background. And it wasn't quite as contrasted as I wanted, and I could work it, I guess. You know, I could have worked it. But this is a good shot too here. I do think when I looked at the video, I do think that I need to learn how to aim the camera better. I do think you know what, I'm going to blame it a little bit on the camera itself. It's a very small screen. I don't know if you've ever used a DJI. It's a wonderful camera. I love the camera. And it's got some automatic features, you know, to keep it steady, to keep it looking where it's supposed to look. But sometimes where a camera thinks it wants to look is not necessarily where I want to look as an artist looking for reference photos. So yeah, I want this to go down here. It's kind of fun doing a journal. It's kind of fun going out and getting these pictures too. I think I'm enjoying that too. I think it's good for my health. You know, yesterday on my phone I have this little odometer thing that tells you how far you walk. Yesterday was the first time that I've ever, in a very long time, now when I was younger I used to walk a lot, but it's the first time I saw 2 miles on my odometer. So yesterday I actually walked over 2 miles. I know that's not much for you guys, but it was a big deal for me. I was so happy at the end of the day to see that I had actually gone 2 miles. Not in one stretch, but over the course of the day between Christmas shopping and photos like this scene where we went. Yeah, 2 miles. So that was good for me. Good for my health. The doctor says I should walk more, so I guess I'm doing it. All right, that looks pretty good, I think. I think that has that look that I want it to have. I'm not quite sure I like it completely, but what I want to do now is take some of this yellow and exaggerate a little bit. Take the yellow and mix it with the white. Make this little bit exaggerated here. Same thing over here. I want to make that hill a little bit more exaggerated. The reason I like the Payne's Gray is because it works really well with the other colors. Black would have a tendency to look muddy, although black does have its purpose. I'm not one of those that says don't ever use black. I think black sometimes does work well. But Payne's Gray, especially if you're doing landscapes, Payne's Gray works out really nicely. Yeah, I like that. Let's get a little bit more of that yellow ochre over here. Burnt sienna, I mean. Burnt sienna. Burnt sienna and yellow mixed together. Yeah, let's get it in there. Get some of this white in there. Get some of that white over here. I know you can see it. You can see the landscape already, but none of those features are in it yet. The whole reason for doing this picture was those features. A little bit more darkness, I think, back here in the background. Like a little bit more contrasted back there. And then I'll get started on the features. The features of the painting. Keep some of those greens in there. All right, well, there's the foundation for our landscape. A little bit of a hill there. Okay, there's our foundation. Smooth everything out. Okay, that looks good. Now we need a smaller brush. So now what we have to do is we've got this beautiful tree right here with all those white limbs and all those dark limbs, and then over here there's a couple of little bushes here. I think that'll be what I focus on. Although you could leave it just like that. It looks not too bad, actually. All right, let's get the what I want to start with, I guess I'll just start with the white and see how it goes. So it looks like it goes all the way from the top to the bottom, just about. Yeah, this is going to be a lot of white, and then I'll have to go back over it. That's about as thick as I want it. I don't want it any thicker than that. Very thin line. A little thicker at the bottom. We'll go ahead and put it up there. And then a lot of limbs that come way out here. A lot of these. I might need a smaller brush. This brush might be a little too big. I think it is. I'm going to use a smaller brush. A smaller brush. See, I thought that brush could work, but I think it was too big. I had a tendency to be pushing on it a little bit too hard. Alright, so it's kind of like making, it's almost like making a Christmas tree shape. And they go the whole way. They cover everything. They go way out. Rob and I both noticed this tree right away. I think this tree is the star of the show. That's what I think. Can you see it? Is it okay? Sometimes my hand gets in the way, I know. Gosh, you almost have to use like one hair of the brush. Just one hair. Get that little drag in the brush and get that little lines, those little tiny lines. It's just lots of branches. Just gotta do them all. Do the best you can to make it look like a lot of branches. I think that's the secret, is to make it look like a lot. Even though it might not be every single branch. There's no way. There's no way I'm going to paint every single branch. Oh yeah, there's a way. I could take that much time, and I've had my share of trying to do things like that. I think that's the learning process. You know, when you're a young artist, you try to make everything you see look exactly like what you see. Especially if you're doing portraits. Well, You kind of have to. You're sort of forced when you're doing portraits. I'll be honest with you. Portraits are nerve-wracking for me. They're very rewarding when they're done. And the people you do them for, they save them forever. They become family heirlooms. So in that respect, I like portraits a lot, and I've done my share. I've done more portraits probably than any other subject. But I really like doing these landscapes. And I like doing these landscapes with you because, like, especially now, going out and getting reference photos that you can also use. I don't claim any right to any. If you see something in one of my videos and you want to use it as a landscape, like what do you call it, a reference photo? Oh my gosh, feel free. Feel free. This is God's handiwork. Not the painting, although I guess in a sense it is because I'm God's handiwork. But you know what I mean. I mean the landscape itself. Yeah, I don't have a copyright to the intellectual property rights to God's handiwork. Oh my gosh. That might not be a good idea. I do think I'm but a brushstroke in God's masterpiece. I'm just a brushstroke. Not even a brushstroke. I'm a hair in a brushstroke in God's masterpiece. All these little things that exist around us that we don't even notice sometimes. You know? So much that we don't notice. Just want to get enough branches on here to give the illusion of the tree full of branches. And this tree is not just white up against dark, it's also got some darkness on the white, so I'll try to represent that. And some of these branches come down and some go over. Sorry, I'm not talking. So I guess keep going. I feel like I don't have enough branches, and the branches on branches. I think that's a key here too. They're not all attached to the trunk. They're attached to each other. I think that looks pretty good. I think that's almost where I want, I guess. And then, of course, there's a lot going on down here on the bottom, too. So somewhere on here I put some burnt umber. So I put some burnt umber on the shadow side of this in some areas. got to get some of that. I think I'll use the Payne's Gray, I think, for the upper branches. So this same tree reaches up to the sky, and against the sky it looks dark. Same tree, same branches. So that's kind of what I was talking about, how up against the sky it's got these dark, they look dark because the sky is so bright. Let's just get as many as I can. This tiny little brush. The same process as the white on the bottom. Just drag them up into the sky. Same thing is true like when you're looking at an electrical wire, like on a power lines. Same thing, they have a tendency to look white up against the dark sky, and then they look dark up against the white sky, and yet they're the same color, obviously. So are you ready for Christmas? I'm ready, I guess. I'm as ready as I'm gonna be. My favorite gift is the one I got for my grandson. It's a Lego kit. And when he's done with it, he'll have like a statue or whatever of, what's that? Yeah, for the Lion King from Disney. It looks like it. He's only 6 years old, so it looks like it's going to require help from mom and dad. But that's what I wanted. I wanted a family project for them. Just because it's fun. I got a little story about that. I don't know if I ever shared this with you, but when I was in my 40s, there was about 3 years where I did not work in radio. The radio station I had worked for closed, and I didn't really care to get back into radio because, to be honest with you, I wasn't really happy in radio. Radio was riddled with people with egos, and not that ego is bad, but it kind of got on my nerves a little bit. People who didn't think that God helped them get there, and not that they were atheists necessarily, but they credited themselves with anything they did. And I would always say, it's only with the grace of God. And of course they didn't like hearing that, and so I kind of got fed up with radio. So for 3 years I worked at a assisted living facility, and I loved it. I worked with these older people. Now I'm as old as they were then. But one of the things I did was I did activities. I'm not a doctor or anything like that. I don't have medical, but I knew how to have fun. and I knew arts and crafts. I know it was weird because most of the activities directors were ladies, but here I was, a big guy, and I was the activities director at this facility. Okay, so I would always look for stuff to do with the people, and one of the ideas somebody gave me was puzzles, and it wasn't my idea, so I said, people like to do puzzles, you should have puzzles. So I said, okay, let me get some puzzles. So I went to I feel like I went to the Goodwill store. I feel like I got some really cheap puzzles. So that's what I did. I got some really cheap puzzles, and I brought them in. I put them in the activity room and put them on a shelf, and Nobody came in. They came in for bingo, and they came in for other things that I had going on, but nobody touched the puzzles. Nobody. So then one day I thought, well, what if I started one? See if anybody comes in and messes with it. And sure enough, I hit the jackpot with that idea. With that idea, I hit the jackpot. They started coming in to like just talk. They would sit and talk and put the puzzle together. And I thought, that's the secret. You got to get it started. So, and it was a very eye-opening experience. And you know something? It wasn't about the puzzle. It was about the time that they were able to kind of spend together with each other. And get to know each other. A lot of times the people, they didn't really know each other. You know, it's a frightening thing for somebody to move into a facility. You know, could you imagine? Maybe you are in a facility, I don't know. But, or your mother is maybe, or my mom spent a little time in one. I always felt like she wasn't as happy there as, she was always a happy lady, but anyway, so sharing some time together around a puzzle is kind of what made me want to get that Lion King Lego thing for my grandson. I thought, wouldn't that be fun if they could all kind of, the three of them, just get together and watch TV and at the same time put together a puzzle and talk and all the things you do when you get together and have a project that you're working on together, you know. So right now I'm just trying to put some little hints of these other two trees here. They've got a little bit of leaves on them. And the same thing, they've got some of those white branches and those dark branches. So I'll do some of that. This yellow ochre. You know what? There's a lot of yellow ochre on this tree still too. There's some yellow leaves on this tree. This tree isn't totally barren. Then you put some leaves on it, and I'll work on the bottom part. Just little areas of little hints of yellow and yellow ochre. And now you can see why I put the dark background, so we can see all these little things. The tree is not totally barren yet. The tree was sitting there. Still had a little bit of life on it. When I walked through the park the other day, I was watching one of these similar looking trees, and it was dropping leaves every time the wind blew, and it was like snow. Florida's autumn happens in December. At least here in Central Florida. Alright, there we go. We should do a little bit more over here. And I think the final touch will be adding the limbs and the darkness down here. So let me get another smaller brush. How about this blue one here? Alright, first let me add some of these dark lines here. This bush over here has got little dark lines. one's got some white ones too, of course. Almost looks like ink right there. At the bottom of this tree. Gotta get some white in there. There we go, that tree looks pretty good. That little branchy, bushy tree. There we go. Now let's get some of these greens onto the bottom of this other one. These yellows and these greens. I think these might even be palm trees. I'm not sure. At the bottom, I mean a palm. What do you call it? Palmetto bush. There we go. Get some darkness in there. Kind of like the way that looks. Maybe a little bit more definition over here. A few branches in here that you can see. There's some areas up here that are and maybe some more exaggerated yellow over here. The sunlight is hitting this hill. more definition in this foreground area. Hopefully it doesn't ruin it. So I'm having a good time going out and getting reference photos. I don't know where I'm going to go today. I don't ever really know where I'm going to go. A couple of days ago I thought I was going to go to a park in our area, and I couldn't find it. I forgot where it was, and I looked on the map later on, so I know where it is now. But yeah, we went looking for it. I found a different park, Sholem Park. That was the one I did a couple of days ago. Alright, I think I'm going to call it done. There we go. There's the day number 8. The yard next to the medical center. Or the field. The field at the medical center. What do you think? Alright, I'll talk to you later. Bye.